And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. I'm your host, Leland Ragin, alongside Craig Lawson. And guys, we're going to talk a little high school football, start the show off right here. We also want to obviously thank one of our big sponsors who just joined us, Flint Electric. We want to thank you guys for being a big part of the show. Also, Ashley Home Furniture as well. Obviously, we've got us we got our high school football helmets up here. I know our teams are not in the mix right now.
Rest in peace.
Yep, rest in peace. But, hey, there'll be another time next season. We're going to start. There's some big GHSA high school football games going on today in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome about a half hour after we get off air. You've got 1A action, Dooley County, the good people down in Unadilla and Vienna. You guys will be in action. 11-2 will face ECI, who is 12-1. That's going to be a great matchup and some good running backs coming out of that area as well.
Yeah, good running backs. Also, defensive tackle recruit Montravius Adams, one of the most highly recruited defensive recruits in the nation out of a single little bitty Dooley County.
Oh, yeah. Country boy.
Yeah, country boy. And they're talking about the impact this kid is making. And I can't wait to watch this game.
I'm excited about it, excited about what's going to go on up there. You guys get a chance and an opportunity. You can go and check out some of that GHSA action. It'll be going on all day at the Georgia Dome. You guys be a part of the action. Go support these local teams as well as just support the kids in general, guys. We were hoping our Northside Eagles or some more people, Mary Person and whatnot, were going to be at Warner Robins would be in the mix. They're not, but we still want to support, obviously, Dooley County right down below Houston County. Right. All right, we're going to go next. We got our 2A action, and 2A action is going to pit 13-1 Jefferson versus 14-0 Calhoun powerhouses. Both of these teams, I'm loving these records, man. We don't have the 8-4, 8-5 teams.
Right.
No 7-6s. We've got 13-1 and 14-0.
Jefferson is a team that's really been on the upswing. The Dragons up there in Jackson County, just in the past few years, have really seen a rise in their talent level and their ability to win games. And then Calhoun, who we've seen there time and time again, year in, year out, and they boast the Player of the Year in the state of Georgia and Taylor Lamb. So Calhoun's been there before, but I look for this to be a good matchup, and we'll see what Taylor Lamb has on display for us today. That
game, obviously, with Calhoun will be at 2:30 p.m. at the Georgia Dome. Again, that's your 2A action. Again, Taylor Lamb, the Gatorade Player of the Year here in the state of Georgia, GHSA. And again, guys, you're going to see a lot of kids that are going to be playing on Saturday, possibly some kids that are going to be playing on Sunday in a few years as well. So get an opportunity to be a big part of that. Let's jump to 4A action right now. 13-1 Ridgeland versus the powerhouse that has been Sandy Creek, 14-0. Here's a team in Sandy Creek last year knocks out Peach County in 3A. They were down in 3A with Peach County last year. They moved up this year. Their dominance has carried on to 4A as well, undefeated this season. And listen, their winning ways have gone a long way. This team and this obviously franchise, I'm going to call it a franchise in Sandy Creek, they have won, and I'm telling you right now, they look to be a favorite in this game. That game is going to be a 5:30 game at the Georgia Dome.
Coach Chip Walker actually went to my high school. His father coached at Stevens County, and this guy's a great coach. I grew up going to camps and him being there. A really nice guy, and just he knows his football. And they've got guys. I mean, we're talking about recruits all up and down the board here in all these games. This is one of the best recruiting years for Georgia, as we've talked about. You got guys like Shaq Wilson and Damari Kitt that are playing for Sandy Creek. And it's going to be a great matchup. Ridgeland has only lost one game this year. Sandy Creek, as we know, is undefeated, and they look pretty dominant last week as well. So yet another great matchup.
Yeah, yet another great matchup. And again, guys, get a chance, get to the Georgia Dome, check them out. You can also, if I'm not mistaken, you can also watch some of these games on, I believe it's pay-per-view on GPB, Georgia Public Broadcast. It's actually going to be live.
It should be
well,
on TV.
If you can't watch them on TV, I think GHSA TV, GHSA.TV has some of those games we're going to be broadcasting as well. Yeah. All right, guys, the primetime game, the big daddy of them all, 8:30 p.m. This game is in prime time at the Georgia Dome. This stadium is going to be packed. I promise you. You're going to have Lovejoy, 13-1 versus 14-0 Norcross. Not the normal teams that we expected to see in here.
Right.
We don't have the Grayson Rams. We don't have the North Gwinnett,
South Georgia,
South Georgia, North Gwinnett, Coker
Right.
County, any of these other bigger schools.
Right.
In those other counties. Lovejoy and Norcross. Unbelievable situation. It's going to be a great matchup, and you're going to see a lot of blue chippers in this game.
Most notably, the running backs on both sides. Alvin Kamara is a big-time Georgia recruit. They're trying to get him. He's also considering Alabama. And Travis Custis on the other side has committed to Georgia Tech at this point. So you've got potentially Georgia versus Georgia Tech. These guys might be playing against each other for the next at least 3 years, if not 4 or 5. So that'll be a really interesting matchup. Norcross also has several other defensive players that are being considered by major colleges and universities around the country. But this is going to be a great matchup. Lovejoy is 13-1. They're saying Travis Custis, another Lovejoy got Tashard Choice a few years ago, who started off at Oklahoma, ended up at Tech, and is now with the Buffalo Bills. They're saying that this kid, his coach is saying that Custis is actually better than Choice was at this point in their career. So a lot of talent on this field, especially in the backfield.
A lot of talent, and guys, you probably heard a Bulldog fan right there just a minute ago. I'm glad about that. He was excited about what's going on with the Georgia Bulldogs as well. Bulldogs obviously in the Capital One Bowl. So again, guys, don't forget 11:30 a.m. Dooley County versus ECI at the Georgia Dome. Jefferson versus Calhoun, 2A action at 2:30 p.m. 4A action, Ridgeland versus Sandy Creek. Again, two powerhouse teams. And in 6A, Lovejoy versus Norcross. That game, again, is a prime timer. You guys get excited. I'm excited. I'm sure you're going to be watching GPB all day Saturday.
Yeah, I was able to go to the game
right,
last night. And so I won't be able to go today, but I'll definitely be watching. So I'm excited.
All right, guys. Well, there it is right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back, and we'll do a little high school basketball, college basketball, and maybe a little bit of NBA. Our Atlanta Hawks, 16-7 on the season. Right here, Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll be back. And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. I'm your host, Leland the Bat Ragin, alongside Craig the Ice Pick Lawson sitting here, guys. He's got the mafia boss look going on today, guys. That's all I'm gonna say.
This is Brandon's jacket, by the way.
So again, guys, you catch him out on the street. You don't need to mess with him. I'm telling you, you walk up on him real slow. Okay, all right, guys. We want you guys to be a part of the discussion as well by calling 478-345-1500. That's 478-345-1500, or you can hit us out on Twitter at SportsWrapTV38. All right. First and foremost, we're going to talk a little. We're going to do our college picks in just a second for our bowl games that are coming up this week and obviously during the weekend this weekend. But first, how about Bobby Petrino?
At Western Kentucky.
I mean, the defunct coach who was flipped his bike, motorcycle with his young lady friend on it. And it's really kind of how everything kind of came out on him. He goes out there. He loses his job at Arkansas. He played in a BCS game last year. And now, again, he gets a reprieve. We all knew this was going to happen. George O'Leary had the same problem happen when he tries to go to Notre Dame, and they look at his resume, and he after he leaves Georgia Tech, and they find out he's got some falsities on there, and he turns around and gets a job at UCF, right? And literally the next year after things kind of die out a little bit. Right. Same thing with Petrino, University of Western Kentucky.
And I really think, obviously, Petrino's a guy who's high on talent, but he's not a guy that has shown throughout his career that he can necessarily be trusted to hang around. So I'd say to the Hilltoppers, probably going to have a few good years coming up, at least one.
Yeah. They beat Kentucky, so.
Yeah, but enjoy it while you can, because I wouldn't imagine he's going to be there for very long.
Ask Gus
considering,
Malzahn.
Yeah, ask Gus Malzahn. But great hire for Western Kentucky. Kind of baffled me. I figured Petrino would be in line for a bigger job, but I guess he's just happy to be coaching at this point.
Yeah, happy to be coaching. He obviously walked away from Arkansas, without a severance package, without anything, because obviously he was released with cause. So again, again another guy that I don't know if to call him a sleazeball or whatever, but another guy who tends to get a job time and time again. It never seems to fail with this guy. Here's a guy who his integrity has been questioned in the state of Georgia for years, because here's a guy who walked out on the Atlanta Falcons week 13 during a regular season, and tells the team he's not leaving or going anywhere, even his coaches, and turns around the next day they see him doing a pig suey at a press conference and leaves a note hanging in the players. Guys, I was in the locker room when they got that note hanging from the players of the Atlanta Falcons. So he's not well liked here in the state of Georgia anyway, so there it is. Also, Butch Jones leaves Cincinnati and heads to Tennessee to take the head coaching job there. I think last week we talked about Charlie Strong and those guys having names being thrown in the hat, John Gruden, so to speak, in Tennessee. Well, Butch Jones gets the job there, and he leaves the Cincinnati job vacant. And the next thing you know, a former Auburn head coach, Tommy Tuberville, and now former Texas Tech head coach, Tommy Tuberville, just bolts and leaves for the Big East, which looks like it could possibly be gone in another 3 years. This conference that may not even exist in 3 years.
Yeah, and that was something. I think the Tennessee Tech said they were just blindsided by this. With you look at Texas Tech, that's a lot better situation. You would think that Cincinnati, Big 12, as opposed to the Big East, like you said, might be dissolving. And Tennessee fans, I don't think they're thrilled with the Butch Jones hire, but he came in and replaced Kelly, who left for Notre Dame, and he's done a pretty decent job with their program. So I think he's a guy who could continue to improve and build upon his resume. They wanted the big name, though. They wanted Charlie Strong, they wanted John Gruden, but from what I've seen on message boards, the Tennessee fans were like, well, at least it's not Dooley.
I'm shocked right now that Tommy Tuberville did not get another job in the SEC. That is the shocker for me. There were 4 vacant jobs in the SEC. We knew he wasn't going to get one of them at Auburn. He wasn't going back to Auburn.
Right.
But Tennessee and Arkansas and then Kentucky being open, I truly, truly thought he was going to take one of those jobs or get one of those jobs. But that didn't happen. Even bigger of a shocker, more of a shocker is the fact that he goes up and takes the job at Cincinnati. Just a surprise for me as well. Yeah,
and I agree with you. I figured Arkansas and Tennessee would both be really good fits for him. You don't have, like you said, the Auburn ties. He's not going to go. And also, we were talking about this earlier, Mike Bobo has been mentioned as a potential candidate for the Southern Miss position that is open.
Right.
The offensive coordinator at Georgia, they've had record-breaking seasons, especially this past season.
Conference USA, yeah.
Yeah. So would he make that jump? And I don't really know his agent, and he's one of many. So it's not like it's down to him choosing which is which. But it is an interesting situation for Georgia fans. Georgia fans are still split on Bobo. Some love him because they put up big numbers this year. There's no denying that. But some still think that in certain situations he might not be your best guy to call plays. So it's kind of 6 one way, half dozen the other. But that's a could be an interesting situation unfolding in Athens.
All right, guys, we're going to jump right into the bowl games that we have this week. First one we have is the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl. I hate these names, guys, for all these bowls right now. You pitch Nevada versus Arizona. Both of these teams are 7-5 on the season. Nevada is 4-4 in the Mountain West Conference, and the Pac-12 Arizona was 4-5 this year. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Both of these teams are ranked in the top 20 in rushing offense. They have 2 running backs, Stephon Johnson for Nevada, 1,700 yards and 22 touchdowns. Kadeem Carey, both juniors at Arizona, he's got 1,757 and 20 touchdowns. This is going to be an interesting game, and I think it's going to be a lot of running we see in this game as well.
Yeah, and I'm taking Arizona in this game. We got Rich Rodriguez's offense that he's brought to town, and they just played a tougher schedule. They lost to most of the good teams that they played: Oregon, Oregon State, Stanford, UCLA. They beat USC, who was unranked, but part of the reason they're unranked is because Arizona beat them. So you kind of, which way do you look at it there? I like 7-5 in the Pac-12 over 7-5 in the Mountain West. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Arizona in this game.
I'm going Nevada in this game. I actually think the best running back is Stephon Jefferson at Nevada. I think their offensive line at Nevada is a little bit better than Arizona's defensive front. I'm taking Nevada in that game, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch those guys run. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Man, what a game. That's going to pit Toledo versus number 22 Utah State. Toledo's 9-3 on the season. Utah State is 10-2. The biggest difference is Utah State is 6-0 in the WAC. 6-0. They went undefeated in the WAC champions in this game. But you see what the WAC champions get. They get the Idaho Potato Bowl. But in this game, I'm looking. Toledo has a 82 reception, 1,000-yard wide receiver in Reedy. Reedy is a very, very good wide receiver. They've got a nice little quarterback there as well who seems to be doing some things. Utah State as well, their quarterback's 3,446 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. It's very interesting to see what these two teams are going to be able to do. But the biggest thing for me is Utah is 8th in scoring defense. That's where I think the difference is made, and I'm going with Utah State in this game.
And I'm going to agree with you on that one. Utah State has 2 losses on the season and by a total point differential of 5 points. So they're 5 points away, so I guess 7 if you the extra point to win. So a touchdown away from being undefeated this year.
Right.
So they're a good football team. We actually saw this team. They've lost some guys since then, but they went into Auburn last year at the beginning of the year and almost beat an Auburn team who we didn't know how bad they were back then. But I agree, though. I'm going to take Utah State in this game.
Yeah, so we could have actually had a Northern Illinois situation with Utah State there by 5 points. I mean, literally have these two teams. All right, guys, we're going to get into a couple bigger teams and bigger schools. BYU will face San Diego State in the San Diego County Credit Union Poinciana Bowl.
Now, the names, but you got to get that money, right? You got to get it somehow.
Wow.
San Diego State has a sophomore running back named Adam Muema. I believe I'm saying that right. He has over 1,300 yards, and he has 16 touchdowns. But I'm going with BYU in this game because they are 5th in defense as far as points against them. Even though they are 7-5, they play a good, notably tougher schedule than San Diego State. So I believe that San Diego State, while they are 9-3, will lose to BYU.
I'm going San Diego State in this game. I think San Diego State benefits from being at home. This is the San Diego County Credit Union Poinciana Bowl. It's in San Diego. I think they'll benefit from it being there. I think they'll have 20,000 more fans than they had, obviously, than the other team will have. I'm going with San Diego State in this game. All right, guys, last game before we get out of here, and we'll talk about, coming up in a minute, we'll talk about some more college football. Ball State versus the University of Central Florida and Coach George O'Leary and those guys down there. Give us your thoughts on this game.
Now, Ball State has another sophomore running back out of Matthews, North Carolina, named Jawan Edwards. He's got 1,321 yards on the season and 14 touchdowns. But Ball State is 91st nationally in points allowed on defense. UCF has Latavius Murray, who is out of New York, but 1,035 yards and 14 touchdowns. UCF is 9-4 this year. I'm going to go with UCF. And here's how I do a lot of these games. So I don't know a lot about the players. I always go with Florida athletes over Ohio athletes, and that's predominantly how it goes. So I'm going with UCF in this game.
I go with coaching. Most cases in these games, I look at the coaches and the players, where the players are coming from. You've got Florida players. You've got a lot of players from the state of Florida, and you've got a coach in George O'Leary who's basically won pretty much everywhere he's been. Here's a coach who beat Georgia with Central Florida just a few years ago in the Music City Bowl, I believe it was, up in Memphis.
Yeah.
So,
dark day.
Dark day calls the Georgia Bulldogs to go 6-7, I think, that year anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, guys, stick around. Craig and I'll come back, and we'll talk a little bit about Valdosta State playing for a national championship. So we'll talk about that and a lot more coming back right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll be back.
The blaze of glory, 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 the blaze of glory.
And guys, welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. Each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. You guys be a part of the discussion as well. You can call 478-345-1500. That's 478-345-1500. Or you can follow us on Twitter at SportsWrapTV38. Or you can follow me personally at Leland Ragin. That's at LelandRagin. Okay, we just did our college pick'em segment. Now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to come out, and we've got one of our local teams here from South Georgia vying for a national championship. The Valdosta State Blazers have an opportunity to pull off something big. They will face the 14-0 powerhouse right now that are the Winston-Salem Rams. It's going to be a real good matchup.
Yeah, Valdosta State is not necessarily new territory for them. They've won championships recently. Coach David Dean in his 6th season there has been really successful with this program. And one thing that jumps off the page to me as far as Valdosta State goes in their offense is the balanced attack that they had. They've got 2 running backs that are over 1,000 yards in Cedric O'Neal and Austin Scott. O'Neal has 13 touchdowns. Scott has 9. And then you go to receiving, Gerald Ford and also another receiver in Jones. Gerald Ford has over 1,000 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns, and Jones has 916 yards receiving, also 13 touchdowns. And then Caden Cochran, over 2,600 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, and he's completing over 64% of his passes. So, they use that running game to set up their passing game and just the balance on that offense.
Yeah, I was going to say, just the balance in itself, you've got really, I'm going to just basically just go out and say it. You've got 2,000-yard wide receivers. I know one of them's only 9+, but you've got 2,000-yard wide receivers, plus you've got 2,000-yard running backs, either with 9 and 13 touchdowns in Scott and O'Neal. And the big thing about that is the fact that you don't know what to defend. Whether you're going to put 8 in the box and go in and defend the run with 2,000-yard running backs, well, what are they going to do? They're going to go over the top and hit Gerald Ford, former president. Gerald Ford, no, just kidding, guys. But they'll get an opportunity to go over the top this then. And again, what Coach David Dean has been able to do, he's 42-15 in 6 years at Valdosta. This is going to be a great thing, guys. And coming up a little bit later, right after we do a little analysis on this game, we'll talk to the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. We'll talk to Charles Hurd from the Jock 1150, and again, voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. We'll talk to him about this game as well. But Winston-Salem is no slouch as well. You're talking about a 3,000-yard quarterback that it has an opportunity to do some amazing things in this game. 42 touchdowns does Cameron Smith have, 61% completion ratio. That is unbelievable. And then you got 2 1,100-yard wide receivers with double-digit touchdowns, 12 touchdowns and 14 respectively. Jawan Butler and Jameez Massey. Unbelievable situation, and they're 14-0 right now. They're the alma mater of Stephen A. Smith, ESPN, obviously analyst. And again, Cornell Maynor, in his first season as the head coach at Winston-Salem, first season he goes 14-0. He's got a little job security for next season, and obviously wins the national championship. He's really going to get a little job security and probably get another job offer from somebody else. Maybe maybe a different school. I won't say Arkansas State, but maybe one of the schools where one of these coaches has left to go on, moving up to an FCS situation. But first
one
season,
AA, I still call it
one AA. But Fayetteville State University is where Maynor comes from. They were CIAA champions last season. He was offensive coordinator there. Had a good run, and again, they've got a good balanced attack too. But you can tell they like to air it out.
They lean towards the pass, and that's another thing that jumped. Well, they're undefeated. First of all, Valdosta State lost 2 early games. They lost 2 out of their last. Or 2 out of their first 4, and then ran the table after that. So they've been impressive since those first couple of losses, but they only allow 162 passing yards per game. But Winston-Salem State averages over 290 passing yards per game. So that's going to be an interesting matchup there, the defensive backs of Valdosta State and the defensive schemes versus the offense of Connell Maynor. So we know he's an offensive guy. What is he going to dial up for this Valdosta State secondary?
All right, guys, we're going to let you guys listen. We had to talk to Charles Hurd from the Jock 1150 and voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. We had to talk to him a little bit earlier because they were getting prepared for their pregame show, but we did get a chance to talk to Charles. Here's what he had to say.
Now we're going to talk to the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers getting ready to play for a national championship, Charles Hurd from the Jock 1150 down in Valdosta, Georgia. Charles, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I am outstanding. I'll tell you right now, been a great day, obviously, and it's going to be a great day for you guys. You guys are getting to start, get things kicked off today and for an opportunity to win a national championship. Tell us what the vibe is like in Valdosta right now.
I tell you what, Valdosta is just very excited. Everybody's coming out. Everybody's coming out to support Valdosta State football. Of course, 2004, 2007. Winning the national championship. This is our 4th time coming back to this in Florence, Alabama, to try to win the national championship. But everybody down there, you know, they proclaim that it's Titletown, USA. Everybody's coming out to support this team, red and black all over the place. So it's very happy, a very good time to be a Blazer.
It is a very good time to be a Blazer, and it's also a good time to be in the city of Valdosta. I'll tell you right now, you guys had an opportunity to have some big things going on down there in high school football as well, and with Valwood playing for a state championship as well. And, you know, give us a little insight again with high school football and the Valdosta State Blazers right now with an opportunity to play for a national championship. How this city obviously carries the mantra as being Title Town.
Yeah, absolutely. Valwood Valiants, of course, always was the team that took the back seat there in Valdosta because they're the third high school. So, of course, Valdosta High and then Lowndes, being the tradition that they have, takes the front seat, and that's good. But being that Valwood was the only school left in the playoffs this year, it was great to see both of those fan bases, both Valdosta and Lowndes, come out and support Valwood. I think that's one thing that makes it good and good football in the South and in Valdosta as well, that you don't have to, you know, keep allegiance to just your school. You could come out and support Lowndes County or Valdosta because that school is part of that Titletown count now, being that they brought home a state title. If Valdosta State football, everybody is coming out showing support. The numbers have grown. We were 2-2 at the beginning of the season. People, the coach team was on the hot seat to begin the year. Now everybody's praising them. I mean, that's how quick football changes. But Valdosta State's moving on, and they're moving fast. I think we have a good shot to win the national title, but I'm close to the program, so a lot of people will probably say I'm biased.
Yeah, you might be a little bit biased. On the phone joining us joining us right now, Charles Hurd, the Jock 1150, but also the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. You guys play, obviously, Winston-Salem, and you're talking about the home or former home of another standout radio guy, Stephen A. Smith from ESPN as well. I did talk to Stephen a little bit earlier this week and told him that you said you had some choice words to say to him about your Valdosta State Blazers.
Yeah, I talked to you when you came on our show as well, and I did want to reach out to him and just say, listen, congratulations for your alma mater making there as well. Let's get, a friendly wager going on, a friendly bet going on. No money involved, but, just have him come down to Valdosta or something like that if they do happen to lose. But this Winston-Salem State team is pretty good, 14-0. But the one thing that the conflict kind of runs into, being in the GSC, Valdosta State, is we wonder if their conference and the CIAA is actually as strong as, the GSC is. And, everybody can go back and forth on it. But one thing for sure, when the ball is kicked off on Saturday, you got to play football. No matter what conference you're from, everybody's going out for one goal. It's only one game left. So you're going to get the best from both teams, and both coaches are really well respected coaches in this game.
All right, guys, Charles Hurd, the Jock 1150, and voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. You guys can check out Charles Hurd and on the Big A Show each and every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. on www.thejock1150.com. Charles, last thing, man, it's got to be exciting right now. Obviously, Georgia having an opportunity to play in the Capital One Bowl coming up soon. In Atlanta, we're going to have, obviously, the Chick-fil-A Bowl with LSU Clemson. You're going to have the Atlanta Falcons are in a playoff hunt with the possibility of winning home field advantage, as well as Georgia Southern possibility to win a national championship in 1AA. I'm still going to call it that. I'm not going to call it FCS. And you're talking about you guys at Valdosta State with an opportunity to win a Division II title. This is some of the most exciting times right here in the state of Georgia right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the most exciting times in the state of Georgia. One thing I'm going to throw out to you, I want to throw out there real quick. We get a little parallel. Last couple of months ago, well, not a couple of months ago, last season for the Valdosta State softball team, when they won the softball tournament, national title. Alabama's team won the national title. Now we're in the national title game, and guess who's in the national title game? University of Alabama. So when you kind of look at it, those two things kind of collide together. There's a lot of other parallels that go together, but this is a good year and a good time to be in the state of Georgia. Whatever team you like, represent all of the teams in the state of Georgia because they're making the state of Georgia look good.
Most definitely. All right, there it is. Charles Hurd, the Jock 1150, and the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. Again, you guys can listen to him at thejock1150.com, or you can check him out each and every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Charles, thank you so much for your time, my friend. Good luck, and bring that national championship home, okay?
Absolutely. We're the first stop we'll stop is in Macon. How about that?
That'll be great. Bring the trophy on through. We want to see it.
All right, guys, that was Charles Hurd from the Jock 1150 and host of the Big A Show. You guys can check him out from 3 to 6 p.m. on thejock1150.com, and he's the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers. Craig Lawson, Leland Ragin will take a quick commercial break, but we want to make sure you guys be a part of the discussion. Give us a call, 478-345-1500, 478-345-1500. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back and wrap this show up right here with the NFL picks with myself and Brandon Evans right here on the Sports Wrap. We'll be back.
Go Blazers. And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. And guys, it's not really a round table, but we're going to have us a nice little round table discussion right quick on contenders or pretenders right now. We want to look around the NFL and look at some of these teams. Joining us right now again, Brandon Evans, host of TV 38's News Night, obviously, as well as our producer, our esteemed producer with the clean face right now.
That's right. That's
Brad Boswick joining us as well. Diehard Georgia Bulldog fan and Bulldog graduate. All right, first and foremost, we're going to jump right into this. We'll finish up with the Falcons, and we'll do them last. We're going to have, let's jump right into the New England Patriots. Contenders this year or pretenders, Brandon?
I'm going to say they're contenders. I think that as long as they don't run into a pass rush like they did with the Giants the last two Super Bowls, I think New England has a very, very good chance of representing the AFC in the Super Bowl again this year.
Brad?
Without a doubt, contender. You saw what they did to the Houston Texans on Monday night. Destroyed them in Showtime. Tom Brady's in, Tom Brady form, Mr. All-Star perennial Pro Bowler, whatever you want to call him. Patriots are unstoppable right now.
All right, well, I say they're contenders as well. Tom Brady, as long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are basically in the hierarchy on that team right now, I think they are contenders. Also, now, you mentioned the Houston Texans getting blown out by the Patriots this past week. Contenders or pretenders, the Houston Texans. I'm going to go with Brad this time.
I think if they can dictate their offense and what they want to do, then they are contender. If they can get a lead and run the ball with Arian Foster and then open up play action with Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson, then they're contenders. If they get behind a couple scores like you saw Monday night, then they struggle coming from behind. We haven't seen Matt Schaub, what he can do coming from behind yet, and because of that, I'm going to say pretender.
I'm also going to agree, but for a different reason. I think they don't match up well with elite quarterbacks. You saw the two games that they lost against New England and Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady were just able to dissect that defense. I think if you don't have an elite quarterback in the playoffs, you better have a darn good defense. And their defense really hasn't been as good as everybody thought it was going to be this year. So I'm going to say they're a pretender.
I say pretenders right now as well, guys. Their defense was very good at the beginning of this season. Wade Phillips looks like he had these guys flying around, interceptions, picks everywhere. But that has kind of changed, like you said, when they face the top-notch quarterbacks out there. I'm going to say pretenders right now. I think listen, this might be the most talented team in the NFL right now. You've got a defensive front with J.J. Watt. You've got great cornerbacks. You've got a running back in Arian Foster who's led the league in over years in rushing. But you got maybe one of the best wide receivers in Andre Johnson. But they always seem to be one step away. I'm going to go pretenders. Now, here's a team that we really want to look at, and we also want you guys to get in the discussion by giving us a call, 478-345-1500. I want to know you guys' thoughts, contender or pretender, as well as you guys can check us out on Twitter or send us your thoughts on Twitter at SportsRapTV38. The San Francisco 49ers may be the big enigmas in the NFL right now. Brandon.
Contenders all the way. That defense is one of the best that we've seen in years. Now, there's a little bit of a quarterback controversy. Is Colin Kaepernick going to be their guy throughout, or is he going to have a slip-up game where they put in Alex Smith? You really don't want that distraction there. But with the running game and the defense they got, I definitely think they're contenders.
Right.
Contender, definitely. Defense wins championships. We see it all the time. College football, high school, pro, defense. Their defense is #1 in the league. I don't care who the quarterback is.
I differ from you guys a little bit in the aspect of this. Colin Kaepernick is the only reason I say they are pretenders this year, because they don't have that quarterback really, in my eyes, that's been battle-tested. Alex Smith, no matter what you say, the guy's been battle-tested. He led them to an NFC Championship game last year. I say this year they are pretenders.
But are they going to beat New England this weekend?
We'll see. That'll be a great one.
Well,
obviously, we'll pick it. We'll pick that game in the next segment.
All right.
You and I will get a chance to pick that one. All right. Next, Indianapolis Colts and Andrew Luck, and obviously the Chuck Strong situation. What do you think? Indy, contenders, pretenders.
I think a lot of people are kind of jumping on the Indy bandwagon right now because they really like what Andrew Luck has done for this team. I think that they're still a couple of years away right now. I would say they're still pretenders.
Right now, I'm going to say pretender. I feel like that might change, though. If I can change my answer here in a couple of weeks, they play the Texans 2 out of the next 3 games. They could lock up the division there. We're going to find out what they're all about, but I think Andrew Luck and the Chuck Strong mentality has them on a roll, but we're going to find out when they play the Texans.
I'm with you 100%. 2 out of the last 3 games they're playing against the Houston Texans for that division championship. The thing I like about what the NFL has done with the schedule, guys, is the fact that the NFL seems to have put a lot of the division title opportunities at the end of the season, which is great. So I'm going pretenders for the Indianapolis Colts, though. I think they're too young in some positions and too old in others. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's a team that's struggling right now. They're 7-6 right now on the season. They've got a shot. Ben Roethlisberger is back for the 2nd week now after his injury. Contenders or pretenders, Brad?
Pretenders. They just haven't been getting it done right now. They're 7-6 right now. I think they play the Cowboys this week, and whoever wins that game has a shot to make the playoffs. I don't even know if they're going to beat the Cowboys this week. I just don't know. I'm going to say pretenders all the way.
I don't think they're going to beat the Cowboys this week, and even if they do, I still think they're pretenders because of the injuries. You can't miss Ben Roethlisberger for 5 games or whatever they did. They've just been banged up all season long. They don't even have a consistent running game. I think it's been running back by committee, but no running back has really stepped in and produced all season long. And, that defense, that once vaunted defense, is they've got some holes in it now.
Yeah, missing Troy Polamalu.
Yeah,
he's out. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks every year. Rashad Mendenhall is actually suspended this game.
Yeah, because
he won't play.
Team stuff detrimental to the team. I say pretenders this year. This year only, guys, because the Steelers right now are one of the best organizations. We're going to speed this up a little bit. Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning right now. Give me your thoughts, contenders, pretenders. They've won 9 in a row.
Yeah, I'm going to go contender. Peyton Manning's on a roll. They won 9 in a row. He's back to Peyton Manning form. He's got those receivers playing lights out. Their defense is pretty good. They made the playoffs last year with Tim Tebow.
And won a playoff game.
Right. So they're definitely going to go farther this year with Peyton.
I don't know if they'll go any farther. They might win 1, I think, but I think they are contenders. I don't think they'll beat the Patriots if they end up going up against them. I think losing Willis McGahee now, unless Noshawn Moreno continues to have weeks like he did last week, I think the key for the Broncos, though, to make them a contender is Von Miller. He is having quietly, because of what J.J. Watt's done in Houston, Von Miller quietly, with 12, 15 sacks somehow this year. I think that defense is just really lights out. Probably the best defense in the AFC, in my opinion.
Your AFC Championship game, in my eyes, Patriots versus the Denver Broncos. I say they are contenders right now. Peyton Manning basically can make any team a contender, even the Raiders.
It would be very interesting to watch the Broncos play the Colts in the playoffs. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning.
That would be it would be interesting, wouldn't it? All right, guys, last 2 teams before we get out of here. Giants. The world champion New York Giants, contenders, pretenders right now, Brandon.
Wow, we're going to be at the game tomorrow for the Falcons taking on the Giants, and until somebody beats the Giants in the playoffs, they're not as hot this time of year as they normally are. They're not playing as well. They've lost Ahmad Bradshaw. Don't know how long. We know he's out right now. It's whether or not David Wilson's going to be able to step up and do that running game. Because Eli's not as good without a running game, but I still think they got that front 4. So I'm going to say contenders.
They wasted a first-round draft choice. I say wasted, but they used a first-round draft choice on David Wilson a couple of years ago. This kid looked like 327 total yards last week in an NFL record. This kid looks like he could be the goods if he can keep from fumbling the ball.
He's a heck of a kickoff returner, but can he run the ball between the tackles?
I'm going to say pretender. I think they've been drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. They seem to believe that there is a light switch, a switch, if you will, that they can just turn on in December and they're good all of a sudden. Well, it doesn't work like that. And I think that they believe that, and they've kind of got caught up in the press, the media a little bit. I'm going to say pretender. I think the Falcons beat them this week.
Well, I say contender, and that's a pretty good pick. I say contender. I think they are the real deal, and I think this is the crunch time. You basically top teams that win championships. Most of them have great quarterbacks or great defenses. This team has them both. All right, last, our Atlanta Falcons. Contender, pretender, they lead the league right now with the best record, tied with the Houston Texans, best record in the league. Contenders, pretender, Brandon.
Yeah, who would think that I would be saying that the two teams that with the best records are probably the two biggest pretenders in the league? And I hate to say it, but it's true. The Falcons, the 6 wins by 6 points or less. They haven't blown anybody out. They've really only beat one good team all year, and that was Denver, and that was thanks to those 3 picks in the first quarter. So I got to say the Falcons are pretenders until they get a signature win over a good team. I think they're pretending. I think that they could maybe win a playoff game this year. It's going to start Sunday with the Giants, though.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I heard a stat thrown out the other day. I don't remember where, but I think under the last 5 weeks, the Falcons have outscored their opponents 117 to 116. So they're playing very tight games. They're winning, most of them, but they're not showing me anything to make me think that they're going to make a run in the playoffs, so I'm going to say pretender.
They're having to come from behind and win games right now. Here's the thing. I don't think any of us on this set right now could take, if they'd have moved that Denver Broncos and Falcons game back from the first game of the season to this week, I don't think any of us would have picked the Atlanta Falcons to win that game right now. Peyton Manning's playing totally different. They're lucky they caught him right as the beginning of the season because the guy hadn't put on cleats in over a year and a half. So I'm saying the Falcons, I hate to say this, our Falcons fans out there, pretenders, right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. So guys, we've got some contenders, pretenders, and this is gonna be an interesting playoff. And again, stick around. Brandon Evans and myself will come back right here on the Sports Wrap and give our NFL picks of the week. Wrap this show up right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. We'll be back. And welcome back to the Sports Wrap right here on TV 38 WRWR. I'm your host, Leland Ragin, alongside Brandon Evans, our TV 38 sports anchor. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thanks for having me here. It's been a crazy week of sports, hasn't it?
It has been a crazy week of sports. We've got a lot of things to talk about as well. I want to start with you first and foremost before we get into our NFL Pick'em segment. How about the fact that Paul Tagliabue overturns the suspensions of the New Orleans Saints players and basically says they were basically being led by their coaches, so the coaches were responsible, not the players?
Yeah, I think it's really a landmark decision because of this whole Bounty Gate scam. We've been talking about it all season long, and we were really curious of what ace that Roger Goodell had in his pocket to get maybe some corroboration earlier from some of the coaches. And now you're looking at it flipping the other way around. You're going to have some defamation lawsuits. Jonathan Vilma, one of the players, already starting to talk about that. So really a 180 in the direction that really nobody saw it coming right when it first started.
Well, my question for you is this. Did Roger Goodell utilize Paul Tagliabue and use him basically to keep from having to overturn his own decision? In other words, people, what I'm saying is Roger Goodell did not want to look like he was doing an about face or flip-flopping, so he utilized Paul Tagliabue and said, hey, you can go ahead and overturn these decisions. I don't want to, because it showed that he had been kind of loosening up and softening up on his stance, but he really didn't want to give away all of his power, so it was easier for him to have Tagliabue basically say we'll overturn these and blame it on the coaches and hold the coaches accountable as opposed to him overturning the suspensions himself.
Well, I think you're part right. I think that nobody likes to admit that they're wrong.
Exactly.
But I think that really he knew he had no solid evidence. It was really a he said kind of argument. Everything was circumstantial. He really didn't have a leg to stand on except some of the coaches that were willing to corroborate. So maybe they put it on him. The players get off. Now we look at the defamation lawsuits. I'm not sure what Roger Goodell was going through, but I think that that really it came down to the facts.
That's going to be another interesting thing. The defamation of character lawsuit that Jonathan Vilma has in New Orleans, that's still lingering around. That decision looks like it will be made sometime here at the end of this month as well. All right, Guys, we're going to get into our NFL Pick'em segment. I actually would have been 4-1 last week. I was 3-2. I missed the Dallas Cowboys game by 1 point. Dallas won 20-19, but I did pick Minnesota, and I did pick a couple other teams as well. It was a big upset, so had a very good week as well. Obviously, if you guys are out there, you know, making your picks based on ours, you've had basically a few good weeks, man, because we've done a pretty good job picking these games.
I think he's picking about 70%. I'm closer around 55, 60, but that's still winning. So, yeah, if you want to keep, you know, make a little extra money around Christmas time, I'm not encouraging any gambling whatsoever. But, you know, our picks have been somewhat hot lately. But it's that time of year when, you know, it really makes it a lot harder.
The cream always rises to the top this time of year, and I love the way the NFL has set this schedule up. They've got a lot more divisional games right here at the end of the season. I'm loving this. We're going to start in division, NFC North, Green Bay versus the Chicago Bears. This one is going to be on Soldier Field. This is going to be a tough game, and the issue is right now for me whether or not Matt Forte is going to be healthy and whether or not Jay Cutler is going to be healthy with that neck.
Yeah, I've been riding the Bears way too long this year. I rode them all the way into the ground, and basically they're still alive. They're 8-5, taking on Green Bay, and Green Bay has really kind of been smoke and mirrors most of the season. It's really a tough pick, and I normally wouldn't take a road team, but I'm going to take Green Bay because I just think the wheels are starting to fall off Chicago.
I'm going Green Bay as well. Looks like they've got some semblance of a running game going right now. Looks like they're doing some big things. The kid Green has been able to put some yards on the board for them as well. All right. We're going to take a trip to Baltimore, to the Inner Harbor, and with the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning will travel into the limping Baltimore Ravens, who fired their offensive coordinator, Cam Cameron, and now have Jim Caldwell coming in. And here's the question I have for you. Jim Caldwell, former head coach, took the Indianapolis Colts to a Super Bowl, was offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts when Peyton was there. Are they trying to get in Jim's mind a little bit to pick his brain a little bit to say what's Peyton's tendencies going to be and what's he going to do?
I don't think that's necessarily why they're doing it. It always helps to try to get into Peyton's mind, though. I really just think that Joe Flacco was on a different page than his offensive coordinator, and they just went their separate ways, even though they were putting up 28, 31 points a game. Right. So an unusual move. You usually don't see mid-season moves of quarterbacks or of offensive coordinators.
Yeah, especially with teams that are winning, teams that have 9 wins at this point in the season. You don't see that. Cam Cameron had huge success out there in San Diego when he was obviously with Marty Schottenheimer, when those guys were 14-2, 13-3, and they were doing some big things there. So obviously the change is being made. But I'm going Denver in this game. I'm going with another road team because I think Peyton Manning, obviously, again, cream always rises to the top.
Yeah, you can't go against Denver. I think I said a couple weeks ago that I thought Denver was the most talented team in the AFC and at least playing the best. I might go back on that statement now the way New England's playing. But I'm going to take another road team as well. I'm going to take Denver. I think they're going to beat Baltimore, although I hear Baltimore is lovely this time of year.
Yeah, it is lovely this time of year, and you can always get some crabs there pretty easy as well. All right, guys, Indianapolis versus Houston. Houston kind of being annihilated by the New England Patriots this past week. Indianapolis and this young team with Andrew Luck, they seem to just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. Reggie Wayne right now, 3rd in the NFL in receptions and 2nd in receptions and 3rd in yards. The old guy's getting the job done, and this is going to be a tough game for me to pick. I'm going, and let me just step back a little bit. Storylines on this. Houston will actually play Indianapolis 2 of their last 3 games. And everybody's kind of gave the division to Houston early on because they were on such a roll. This could all change here over the next couple of weeks. The way Indy's been playing, if Indy can win 2 out of those last 3 with them, I'm going to go ahead and get your pick first before I get mine.
Yeah, and I think Houston definitely knows this, and I think they're going to win. I think they got embarrassed against the Patriots. I think they rally at home. I think they win. I think it's close, though. Andrew Luck he throws a lot of picks, though, for a first-year quarterback. I think he throws a couple of picks. I think that Houston defense finally has a statement game. I think they win 1, but I think they split those 2 games.
Well, I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the young Colts in this game. Yeah, we're going to mark that down. That's a difference in the game we're going to do. I still say Houston wins that division. I'm like you, but I think Indianapolis gives them everything they can handle. Pittsburgh, the reeling Pittsburgh Steelers, they get Ben Roethlisberger back last week, but to no avail. They still lose in a tough game versus the Dallas Cowboys, who miraculously after a tragedy this past week with the linebacker James, the young man down there, obviously killed in a car accident with his former roommate at Illinois and his teammate and best friend there with the Dallas Cowboys. It looks like Dallas rallied back and won that game. Very emotional game for those Cowboys. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go into Dallas and give Dallas everything they can handle. Tony Romo has been known to make big mistakes. He'll make some more big mistakes against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You're taking Pittsburgh.
I'm taking Pittsburgh.
All right, they're both 7-6. I think even though the Cowboys, they lost Des Bryant, I still think Pittsburgh's a real piecemeal team right now. They don't really have an identity. Normally you think they run the ball, but they haven't run the ball well this year. They bring Roethlisberger back, but the passing game's still not there. He's a little rusty. I think Dallas at home, both of these teams need a win. I think the loser of this game is pretty much out of the playoffs.
Exactly.
On either side, even though they're in different sides of the NFL. I'm taking Dallas.
You're taking Dallas. I'm going with Pittsburgh in that game. All right, guys, probably one of the best games we'll see over the weekend. The San Francisco 49ers will actually have to travel cross-country to New England and play the Patriots out in Gillette Stadium in the cold weather. And here's the thing, guys. That game, I believe, is going to be an 8:20 kickoff, so it's going to be a night game, and it's going to be cold in New England. This is going to basically pit one of the best offenses in the NFL versus the best defense, number one defense in the NFL right now. This is going to be a tough game. Colin Kaepernick is going to be out there on the field, whether or not they can contain him. At this point in the season, guys, I am not going, as bad as I want to pick San Francisco, I am not going away from what New England Patriots are doing right now. I'm going with the Patriots in this game.
Yeah, New England, they looked at they were talking about Tom Brady's record in December, Bill Belichick's record in December. This team is just world beaters in the month of December. They're at home. They looked as impressive as any team I saw last week when they beat Houston. I think San Francisco is going to struggle a little bit. We could have some snow in the outdoors. They're not to say it's not cold in San Francisco, but it's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. Like you said, a night game. I'm sticking with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, Brady seems to get it done. All right, guys, last game we're going to pick our Atlanta Falcons. Traveled up to Carolina last week and Cam Newton just runs all over them. That was one of the games that both of us got wrong last week. The Falcons only mustered up 35 yards of total offense in the first half of that game, people. 35 yards. The days of Michael the Turner burner are over. The burner has been extinguished. I'm telling you right now, the Falcons need to figure out a different game plan on what they're going to do. They've got to get healthy defensively. They didn't have William Moore this past week. He didn't play. Santi Samuel didn't play. There's going to be a lot of guys. Hopefully they can get back here really soon. This is going to be a must-win game for the Falcons. And people understand this. If the Falcons had won this past week, they would have secured home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. If they win again this week, they will do the same if they win this week. This is a statement game if they can win this game, and hopefully our Atlanta Falcons can go deep into the playoffs this year and make a nice run, something they haven't been able to do over the past few years.
No, and to not correct you or anything, but it's not a must-win game. It is not a must-win game. They've already clinched the division. They're still battling for home field. They know San Fran's got to go to New England. They're thinking that New England wins that game. Falcons really only have to win, maybe one more game to get home field, maybe two. But the Giants coming to town, that is a team that plays well this time of year. They're past their November slump. We saw the numbers. And now it's December and it's Giants time. They're 8-5. It's a must-win game for them.
But this is a barometer, though. This tells you, listen, this is the world champion the New York Giants. Here's a team that's won two world championships in the last 4 seasons. All I'm saying is that this is a barometer for the Falcons to figure out whether or not they can beat this team and beat that kind of pass rush that they're going to be facing from the New York Giants and that Giants defense. It's going to mean a lot for them to win this game if they can.
It
especially
does mean a lot.
Especially after getting beaten by Carolina the week before.
Right, but for all the reasons you just named is why the Giants are a better team than the Falcons right now. So we're talking about who we're picking to win. All the reasons you just gave me is why I'm picking the Giants. I hate it. I love the Falcons. I'm not a homer, but I cheer for the Falcons. I cheer for my Bulldogs, and all the local teams here in the middle of Georgia. But I think the Giants are even better on the road. I think they come in, I think they win, and I think the Falcons then have a must-win game next week. So I think I'm picking the Giants.
All right, guys, you got the Giants here. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to be in a situation where they get William Moore back, they get Asante Samuel back. Hopefully he'll be healthy this time. He hadn't played but about 4 or 5 snaps in the last 3 weeks, so hopefully that shoulder, which you and I saw up close and personal, he couldn't even raise his arm.
It's
so
been bothering him.
Hopefully they'll be healthy and back in full effect. Folks, that's everything right there. You've got our picks for the weekend. You guys make sure you check them out, obviously, and see obviously who's gonna get it done.
We've got some
this
different
week.
ones.
We've got some different picks. So obviously we should have some different outcomes this week right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38 WRWR. You guys tune in again next Saturday right here from 9 to 10 a.m. Brandon, Craig Lawson, Leland Ragin. You guys have a wonderful and blessed weekend. We'll see you guys on the other side of this, on the other side, obviously, coming up next week right here on the Sports Wrap TV 38. See you guys later. Have a great weekend.